back into another episode of the Dynasty Pros Debbie Show. Tonight, we are going to be discussing the Week 11 slate. Got a couple games we want to talk about. Alongside me, Tommy Harvey, I got SC Romero and Andy Pham that will be coming up next. All right, guys, let's go and jump into this thing, shall we? First game I got listed for tonight's show. Let's go over the Ole Miss and Georgia game. I know that there's a lot of Debbie prospects in this one. Um, Starting off with the Ole Miss Rebels here. Jackson Dart um, started off the season really well. Um, I actually have been a little bit higher on him throughout the season than what I was last season. I think he's got a decent shot at being an NFL prospect. Um, and then obviously you got Quinshawn Judkins, but the guy I'm really wanting to talk about here is Trey Harris, wide receiver, kind of a big bodied guy. Um, has really put together a solid season for his first season inside the SEC. What do you guys think of him?
He's nice. I think he's someone that's building with it, and I think that's the reason why we're seeing some of Jackson Dart's success right now. He's actually having one of his better seasons of his college career, and I think a lot of that has to do with Trey Harris kind of stepping up and becoming kind of a notable target for him right now.
Yeah, he's that typical Ole Miss kind of a bigger athlete, over 200 pounds, good size to him. And he's a good, strong physical receiver. I think he fits what Ole Miss needs.
Yeah, I think we kind of discussed him the other night where we were saying he's probably a kind of a back end of the draft type of guy. But I think he has a pretty decent shot of making a roster once he gets into camp and they can see what all he can do. Him coming from a smaller school and transferring into the SEC. Um, there wasn't a real big transition period. He kind of hit the gate running. First game of the season, big time game, and he's really proven he belongs in these big time atmospheres. Um, as far as for Georgia, starts with Carson Beck for me. He's their top Debbie prospect in my mind, outside of Brock Bowers, who's injured right now. So we're not going to get to see him in this game. But Carson Beck, and then we're going to see guys like Dominic Lovett, Lad McConkey, Oscar Delp. I think all three of those guys have NFL futures. Also, Lovett and Lovett, he transferred in from Missouri, and you know, kind of a slow start for him, but ever since Brock Bowers went down, he's really stepped into a more prominent role. And Lad McConkey, just reminds me of that, that kind of Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola type of player there. Just scrappy, is going to do what's asked of him.
Yeah, I agree too with Beck. They really haven't had the same running game we're used to with Georgia. I don't feel there's really been anyone that's like a stud that just makes me go wow as we've seen in the past. So I think it is all about Carson Beck and showing how he can read these defenses. And any team in the SEC has a tough defense. They just know how to play it there. So this is a tough game for them. Missouri wants to prove they're one of the top dogs in the SEC right now, and I think it'll come down to a lot of Carson Beck and just making the smart decisions and not trying to force the throws and get possible turnovers for them.
Yeah, this is one of those games where it's like a must win for both quarterbacks. Both need this signature win. And Jackson Dart has Quinshawn Judkins, and he's going to need signature Quinshawn to be Quinshawn for him and Ole Miss to have a shot. at the end of the day, I think Georgia's going to be too strong, and I think that they're going to get the win. And I think Carson Beck's going to look more and more comfortable as he has with every passing week.
Yeah, Beck's been really really good this season. He could make a play for that QB1 in the 2025 class. I think I think he has all the traits of an NFL quarterback. Next game we're wanting to we got here is another SEC showdown. Tennessee visiting Missouri over the weekend. You know, I've been up and down on Joe Milton, but over the last couple of weeks he's looked a lot better. They're trusting him more to throw it, to kind of get it downfield. Obviously, he's got the strongest arm in college football. But another guy that I'm really that I'm really high on, especially going into the next level, is Jalen Wright. He had an 83-yard touchdown run last weekend. Granted, it was against UConn, but he was pulling away from back end defenders. He has that big time track speed. Coming out of high school, he was real hesitant to put on weight because he did not want to lose that breakaway track speed. And it doesn't seem as if he's lost any type of any type of speed there. He's got good vision. Really, he's a one cut type of guy. Get downhill. I think he probably has a future as probably a late third, probably like a late third day type of guy. But then Missouri, obviously, all eyes are on Luther Burden. Is he going to play or isn't he going to play? He, as of today, he's listed as a game time decision. So if he's not able to go, who does Missouri rely on?
Speaking on Joe Milton, for him, he's been someone that we've talked about, strong arm and just a very athletic guy. And really, it's just been his receivers haven't been stepping up, right? So, I mean, people are a lot lower on him, so he's going to have that great combines to look good. But, I mean, we have seen Jalen Wright come to it and have some good games here. So, I mean, when he can take that top off, Joe Milton could get him the ball. It's just all about Wright actually catching it, right? So, I mean, I've seen a lot of these athletes or these wide receivers for him drop these passes that he's throwing right on the money. So, I mean, we just need to see more of that, and that's their key to success. Missouri doesn't have much on defense that it can't be taken advantage of. Last week's game was against UConn, so I mean, this is gonna be a tougher matchup, but I think it's still possible for them to come out with the win. For Missouri, on the other hand, though, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that they'll need to do if Luther Burden's unable to go, because he's someone that not only will he distract the defense with his talent, but he's also someone that if all eyes are on him, he can still make the play, right? Where I don't know who else will come out for this Missouri offense to actually say, okay, this is my goal, and then exactly how Tennessee's defense won't be able, I mean, they'll be able to shut him down if Luther Burden's unable to go just because of his distraction that he makes on the field with being so good.
It looks like this morning the coach was saying that he doesn't seem optimistic that he'll play with Burden. So I think if he doesn't play, it'll have to be on Theo Weiss. I mean, he's going to have to do it. He's stepped up, finally. He's had a lot of, hype when he first broke in and then never really lived up to it. I think he'll have to be the one. I kind of think they have to kind of rely on the run game, with Cody Schrader. I think that's what they have to do if Burden's not there. You're going to have to try to slow the game down, try to get run games first down, just plod away, and then, try to get Theo Weiss involved.
Right. Another thing, another note, I told you guys this over the weekend, but I was at the Tennessee UConn game on Saturday and saw Nico Iamaleava play in person, and I saw what I wanted to see from him, and to the point where I'm saying 2026, he's the 1-1. His escapability is Bryce Young level. And Bryce Young, I classified him as a wizard whenever he was at Alabama. So just imagine a guy who's 6'6", probably going to be closer to 215 or so by the time he leaves college, with a whippy type of arm and Bryce Young level athletic ability to escape the pocket. Um, I saw what I needed to see from him to say that I feel comfortable saying he will be the 1-1 in 2026.
Now with Nico, he landed in the perfect spot because in high school he had a very similar style of offense. Just have his receivers go out there and then just have two reads and then go from there. So he fits that offense and he should put up numbers. My only issue with him when I watch his tape is he's got that wiry frame and I just don't know if he can take that beating because he's a kind of runner that he's willing to scramble, but if he does that in the SEC, I'm just afraid he's gonna get hurt because he's like what, maybe 200 pounds right now at 6'6".
Yeah, he's
He's
listed
like,
at 206. He's listed at
yeah,
206. And they're going into next season. They're really wanting him to be in between 212 and 215. So
he needs
I
to
mean,
be that.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. But if his body keeps progressing the way it has been since he's been on campus, I could see him being up to 215 easy. Um, next game we got your Michigan Wolverines traveling to Happy Valley to take on Penn State. This one has plenty of Debbie assets in this too. JJ McCarthy, very very close. He is probably QB3 right now, um, but I could see him possibly moving up to QB2 if a team really falls in love with him.
Go ahead, Andy. I'll let you go first with Michigan.
Yeah, first off, with the QB3 and QB2, I think JJ is pushing for that QB2 spot. I'm not ready to say he's my QB2, but I think he's pushing for that with every passing week, with the throws that he's making, the reads that he's making, and this is by far going to be his toughest game that he's had this year. Penn State has a very good defense, and what I want to see. What I think will happen in the beginning, I think it's going to be one of those typical heavyweight boxing matches. It's gonna be slow slugfest. I think both teams are gonna want to try to establish the run, that typical Big Ten style football, and it's which team is going to be able to make that big play first. Is that going to be Drew Alar being able to find his receivers, or is it going to be JJ McCarthy finding Roman Wilson? I think that's the answer, or that's the question that we need to see answered. And I think this is going to be a close game. I think at the end, it'll probably be like a 23-17 type game. But I think Penn State is going to need their running back duo to do their thing. And they've kind of struggled for the most part this year.
Yeah, Penn State's offense has struggled. I don't think I don't think Drew Aller really trusts his wide receivers. You're able to tell just kind of the way he throws the ball kind of away from everybody, just so he doesn't want to make a mistake because he doesn't believe his guys can make plays. But as far as Michigan goes, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, Roman Wilson, what's the tight end's name? Colton Loveland.
Yep.
Colson
That's it.
Loveland.
Colson Loveland. Yeah. He's got an NFL future too. On the Penn State side, obviously, it's Drew Alar and those two running backs.
Or like the X factor of the game, I think it comes down to defensive back Callan King for Penn State. You were talking about Bryce Young being a wizard. To me, McCarthy's been a wizard this year because there really isn't much for him to work with outside of his running backs, but he's making the team win, right? So I think it's going to be like Andy was saying, which defense kind of makes that play first, because both quarterbacks can go out there and ball out, and both quarterbacks have a nice little running back duo. They have Michigan has a great defensive line, that can go after and get after Drew Aller with that pressure, make him choke up and, force some throws, and vice versa. On Penn State, they have a top prospect in Chop Robinson, at the defensive side too, in that line, bringing some pressure. But I think Callan King's going to be able to, or he's going to need to read, everything McCarthy does, make an interception if possible, or at least shut down Roman Wilson to force JJ McCarthy to go somewhere else because he's just on a lockdown play right there.
Yeah. Our next game we got up here, we got USC going to Eugene, Oregon. Obviously, we know everything. We know all about Caleb Williams. We know all about Bo Nix. What I really want to talk about here are guys like Bucky Irving, Troy Franklin, and even on the USC side, I'd like to mention Taj Washington. What do you guys think about those guys?
Bucky Irvin's nice. I think he's a good prospect to pay attention to. I saw someone said that people are going to compare him to Devin Achane, and I don't necessarily see that at all. I think he's more of a runner that can get some speed under him, but he's not necessarily as explosive as you would an Achane or anything. Troy Franklin, he's one of the top wide receivers in this draft, and he's going to be able to take this top off. USC, we talked about before, their defense is just horrendous right now. So Troy Franklin, Ches Johnson as well, might see him step up a little bit. This is a big game for Bo Nix. They're still in the mix, to get into that playoff spot right behind there. So this is a huge game for them. As they're watching Washington this week. So I think they had to go out there and win, and they can. Caleb Williams will go out there. Charles Washington's a great prospect that I think for me, I think it's more so Caleb Williams is making them look nice. Like I like Brendan Rice a lot too, but he's just more of a one attack kind of receiver. He just takes the top off. I don't really like his route running or anything like that. So, I mean, Caleb Williams can succeed. I think the Oregon defense will be too much for him, and it'll be a close game. But I think Oregon defense makes that stop in the end or something to force them to lose because Oregon needs to win. USC is already done for.
I mean, Bucky Irving and Jordan James, they might combine for 350 yards on the ground. This could be the people that love Bucky Irving, they're waiting for this game. They're waiting for him to go off, and then they're going to be like, see, Bucky Irving, Bucky Irving, Bucky Irving. And so I think him and Jordan James, I think they're going to have a great game. As far as USC, I kind of want to see how they come out. Are they going to come out loose? Because they're done. They're unranked. So now go out, play for fun, play for pride. Does USC play their trio of freshman receivers? Does Mekhi Lemon finally get some snaps? Are they going to let the young guys play? Because they have to look for next year now. So, next year you don't have Brennan Rice. You don't have those guys. Get those freshmen in. What do you have to lose?
It would be nice to see some Malachi Nelson. That would be great.
Yeah, I think the only way you're going to see him is if this game gets way out of hand, and even then, it's probably will be Miller Moss instead. Last game that we have on the docket here, Florida and LSU. I really like Eugene Wilson III as a prospect for Florida. Outside of Ricky Pearsall, who's the senior, Eugene Wilson, Trey Wilson, is a big time receiver for them as a freshman, true freshman, and he's electric. I really like what I see out of him, and obviously on that LSU side, you got Malik Neighbors, you got Jaden Daniels, but Brian Thomas Jr. Is a really, really intriguing prospect also.
I like Eugene Wilson also, but I mean, Florida also has a great tight end in Arliss Birmingham, who's someone to keep an eye on because I think he could definitely make some plays here. Jaden Daniels has been balling in one of my leagues. Actually, someone said he's a second round quarterback. I know we've talked about him rising those rankings, and it's very possible that he's creeping into that role, even though they've lost some. I mean, he's starting to get under him, and I don't know if it's just because he realized, hey, Malik Neighbors is there and he got him more involved, and now he's like, well, Brian Thomas is here too. Now I got two great receivers, but I mean, they're starting to click. They look great. So it's just going to be a fun all around matchup in the SEC. LSU should come around with this, But I mean, there's some sleepers, like you mentioned, Eugene Wilson, a great freshman prospect to look at. It really comes down to just their quarterback is bad. So I mean, that's really going to be the deciding factor there. Is Jaden Daniels is head over heels with Graham Mertz there.
Yeah, to cap off with Eugene Wilson, we saw his juice that he had against Utah in the season debut. We saw that from day one. It took the coaching staff a while, but we saw that from day one. I mean, with Florida, it's still a little upsetting of how they're using the running backs. I understand that Trevor Etienne got hurt for a couple of games, but he hasn't taken over that backfield like we thought he should, and that's a little concerning as far as a Devi is concerned. For LSU, it looks like Jaden Daniels is pushing the play. I read somewhere today that LSU sent Tate to the NCAA and how he's passed everything. And they're trying to get him to play and stuff. And then Logan Diggs is doubtful. So if he's doubtful, does Caleb Jackson get more involved? And if that's the case, I'm excited to see that for LSU.
Yeah, I'm just real worried we're going to see what's the guy's name? Josh? Is it Josh Williams?
We don't need to see any more of him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just kind of afraid we're going to be being for that, and if we are, then it's definitely going to be LSU throwing the ball all over the place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. SC, Andy, go and tell us where we're able to find you, what all you're working on, and we'll go and get out of here for the night.
Yeah, man. At the PPR show on X, you can find me doing some daily threads every day except Saturday, just going over my college learnings for quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and then some IDP and then rankings today that will drop later. And then every Tuesday doing IDDP, individual Devi defensive players, just an article you can find on Dynasty Pros. And every Thursday, we have a start sit IDP for the NFL and RPO, plus Rams content for the High Point Creators Network.
You can find me at Andy_fam1. Every Thursday, I drop a player profile, and this Thursday or today, it was Xavier Worthy. And going forward, I'm going to try to get all 2024 NFL draft eligible players on there. That way, when draft comes up, all you guys that just play Dynasty or aren't really familiar, you'll know exactly who these guys are. And then every Friday, drop a Devi and C2C games to watch. And then every Monday, we do a Devi stock up, stock down, and C2C names to watch.
Well, good deal. Again, that's going to do it for tonight's show. If you're watching on YouTube, go and hit subscribe and that like button for us. Leave us comments. Also, we'll take a look at those. Follow us on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. At Dynasty Pros Tom, that's me. At the PPR show, that's SC, and at Andy_fam1 is Andy. But until Tuesday night, we will see you guys later.